What's good, Cubers? It's your boy Matt, and I'm back today with a spicy new card from War of the Spark. Let's get started. So I got a request to look at a card from War of the Spark that you might not have been paying much attention to, and that's Massacre Girl. For 3 double black, you get a legendary creature, human assassin with menace, 4/4. When Massacre Girl enters the battlefield, each other creature gets -1/-1 till the end of a turn. Whenever a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 till the end of the turn. And this is a really interesting, really spicy effect. The goal is that we play Massacre Girl and she becomes a kind of board wipe, mopping up most of our opponent's creatures. In order to do this, this means either we or our opponent has to have a creature with 1 toughness on the battlefield so that Massacre Girl can begin to snowball. Because after she kills all the 1/1s, she'll trigger again and kill all the 2/2s, and then all the creatures with 3 toughness and 4 toughness, everything but herself, and so on, until ideally the board is wiped of your opponent's creatures, leaving Massacre Girl standing amongst the ruins of your enemy. And I do want to point out that the 5 mana spot in black is a weakness in the color. Let's take a look at the cube staples that people play at the moment. People play Grey Merchant of Asphodel and Shriekmaw, according to Cube Tutor, as their number 1 and 2 5 mana black creatures. And while I love Shriekmaw for his targeted removal and the fact that he can be evoked and recurred over and over for goodness, if you've watched my videos, you know I'm not a big fan of Grey Merchant. As a matter of fact, Grey Merchant is a card that I don't think has aged well at all, and instead, I think you should be playing Doom Whisperer. This guy is a card that demands an answer from your opponent and isn't dependent on you being in a mono black deck or a deck with a lot of swamps. For my money, these are the only 5-drop staples for black, so there probably is room for 1 more 5 mana black creature, and maybe Massacre Girl fits that bill. She is a very interesting creature. But if you're gonna play a Massacre creature, there is a cube staple that you probably should be playing in her place, and that's the Massacre Worm. Worm is huge. When he enters the battlefield, creatures your opponent control get -2/-2 till the end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, that player loses 2 life. So 1, Massacre Worm wipes the 1/1s and the 2/2s from the get-go. If you play Massacre Girl and there are no 1 toughness creatures, you won't get any of the 2 toughness creatures, but Massacre Worm will go ahead and pick them up for an extra black mana. Not only that, whenever one of your opponent's creatures is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, that player loses 2 life. So Massacre Worm is gonna really threaten to win the game if your opponent is in some kind of token deck and you just wipe 4 or 5 creatures from the board with the turn you drop him, because your opponent's going to lose almost half their life, which is insane. But there is a drawback to playing the Massacre Worm, and that is he's not nearly as budget as he used to be, whereas Massacre Girl can be picked up for pennies. In fact, at the moment of this recording, Massacre Worm can be bought for roughly $15 a card, and Massacre Girl can be bought for 41 cents. So that's a huge difference, especially if you're in some kind of budget cube, or you're just trying to assemble your very first cube. Massacre Worm is a little bit more of a monetary investment, but there's no doubt that he's a better card. So where does this leave us with Massacre Girl? Well, Massacre Girl seems to be a decent budget option, but she's not an optimal card. I don't think she'll be embarrassing to include in a low power cube, but in a traditional unpowered or powered cube, especially an established one, she's just too inconsistent to make the cut. While the ceiling is you wipe the board and you have a 4/4 Menace, and Menace is a undervalued mechanic, the floor is you can't play her at all because you've got a 1/1, you've got a 2/2, and your opponent's behind, and suddenly you can't play your threat because now she wipes your board only, and so she's stuck in your hand. All of this added together forces me to give Massacre Girl a grade of C+. She's cubable in a low-powered cube, and she's a little situational. She's not good enough to make the cut in a standard cube. In fact, if you're looking for a surprisingly overperforming 5-drop, I've got the perfect suggestion for you. I've had a lot of great luck lately with God Eternal Bantu. Menace is just a undervalued ability. God Eternal Bantu is just impossible to get rid of, and you can get value the turn you play him and replace some cards in your hand. I know what you're thinking, Matt, he's only for aristocrats. Even if all you do is play him and sack a land and an underpowered creature and draw 2, you're getting plenty of value off of this guy. Try out this card for your cube. Don't sleep on God Eternal Bantu. The card is sneaky good. Well, that's going to do it for today, Cubers. Be sure to like, subscribe, catch us on the Twitter at cubefortwo, do all the things, and as always, and until next time, shuffle up and keep cubing, my friends.